Well, good morning and welcome to Stories for the Cooped Up and Captive. You know, I've always been big on perspective. And one of the people I think on quite frequently are the aging and the aged. This story is in respect to, tribute to, and honor of the people who take care of the aging and the aged. So, here goes the story. Well, in 28 years of practicing veterinary medicine, I have pushed the plunger on dogs and cats and horses who were their owner's soul and salvation. I've lost both my parents, my grandparents, and countless friends well before their time, which is potentially the most depressing opening line in the history of storytelling. But I assure you, friends, this is anything but a tale of woe, because whether I'm sitting in the congregation of the Cobb Creek Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, at the funeral for my friend, the amazing Dick Bass, or by my father's dying bedside, when the time is nigh, I open my ears and my eyes and my pores and my soul so that I can actively incorporate everything that is strong and right and beautiful about that moment in time and that person who we're saying goodbye to. And in doing so, I've come by huge swaths of my being and a deep-seated respect for a group of people. I'm about to tell you about 6 of them. Of my mom, my dad always said, "Son, if a neighbor gets sick, the ambulance better be fast, because otherwise your mom will be there first with a pitcher of iced tea and a casserole." My mom was the kindest human who has ever walked. She would not let my dad and I think or speak negatively about anybody under any circumstances. And when she was diagnosed with that god-awful affliction, which is Alzheimer's and dementia, might get her done till death do us part. Dad cooked and cleaned and bathed and fed her and preserved every fabric of her dignity. It was like something out of a Hallmark movie. Until he no longer could. My mom only spent 3 months in a nursing home. By the time she got there, she was soiling her bedclothes on a nearly hourly basis, and she didn't know Dad and I from Garth Brooks and Clint Black. I remember Carol and Jocelyn. They would turn her, clean her, dry her, bathe her, and give her clean sheets and kiss her on the temple as they left. When Mom passed, Dad had 10 pretty good years. He was one of those old guys who drove cars from an auction back to a dealership in Decatur, Illinois. Until one day in July at 6:30 in the morning, I got a telephone call from cousin Jim. Dad had had a massive stroke and launched a Buick into the middle of a bean field in Illinois. His first night in the hospital was from hell. He had a violent reaction to the morphine they gave him. He thrashed, vocalized he was dysphoric. He tried to rip the catheters out of his arm, and repeatedly he stood next to the bed trying to relieve himself. But if I was propped up under his left arm, on the right was a diminutive 35-year-old mother of 3 named Omika. After 10 days in the hospital, Dad was discharged. The nurses were attempting to arrange transport by ambulance back to Wisconsin. I pulled my pickup truck next to the exit of the hospital. I said, "Don't worry about it, we got it under control." "Oh my God, Mr. Stork, what if something happens?" I showed him the commode I had borrowed from St. Benny's in the back seat of the pickup truck, and I said, "Don't worry about it, we got it handled." Not to mention the fact that I assure you, in the passenger seat of this pickup truck is exactly where my dad would want to be. So when we got him to a nursing home in Wisconsin, he went after physical therapy like he was training for the Olympics, and he progressed to the point that he could drive my lawnmower in circles. He graduated to an assisted living facility, but assisted is not exactly his idea of living. But still, I remember Karen. Karen was built like a refrigerator with a head. 55 years old, 30 years in health care, she could barely stand up straight. But still, 4 days a week, she worked back-to-back 8-hour shifts in 2 different assisted living facilities. Yet still, on more than one occasion, I'd stop by to visit Dad after work, and there she'd be after she had punched out of her 3rd consecutive 16-hour day, holding his hand, combing his hair, and telling him that he loved her. Then there was Christy. Christy found out that Dad liked big band music. She had 3 kids and a husband at home, but somehow she found time to scare up an old boombox and record a mixed tape so that Dad could listen in his room. And then there was Stephanie. Stephanie was middle-aged, attractive, and fit. Scrubs were always tucked in. If Stephanie was on shift, things were handled. In his last few days, he stirred in the middle of the night, and Stephanie attended. By the time we got him settled back down and tucked back in, I caught a subtle yawl in her diction. I said, "Stephanie, where's home?" Her first answer was Wisconsin. But I asked one more time, and she admitted that she had grown up in Louisiana. At 20 years old, with a special needs son on her side and an 18-year-old boyfriend, she got in her car and drove north, for the simple reason that she knew that there was a better life beyond those bayous of Louisiana. So Carol, Jocelyn, Omika, Karen, Christy, and Stephanie are CNAs, Certified Nursing Assistants. In our healthcare system, they are the bottom of the pecking order and the pay scale. Yet, they are also the point of care. They perform the most physically demanding, emotional, dehumanizing, organic tasks for people they never got to know when they were at their best and kind and benevolent. And they do it for less money than a cashier at Quick Trip. So, if you are a CNA, if you know a CNA, God bless you. Thank you. And if you ever need a voice, I will tell this story and 100 others at the top of my voice from the top of the mountain in front of the American Medical Association. Omika said it best. After Dad's night from hell, I found her, hugged her, and I thanked her. She said, "Oh, Mr. Stork, it's nothing. I just want to make sure that every one of my patients get the same kind of care I would want for my mother." So, if all else fails, keep something moving forward.